Hey, everybody, welcome to the Buck Brief. On this episode, our friend Amber Smith joins us. She is a former senior Pentagon official, a former combat helicopter pilot, and author, and we're talking about a whole range of things. Amber, good to see you, my friend. How you been?
Great to see you. Good. It's good to be on with you.
So let's start with this one. I saw you pop up on Fox and Friends. You're talking about something called the Declaration of Military Accountability. What is that?
So it is the brainchild of Navy Commander Rob Green. He wrote this letter and sort of rallied the 231 of us who signed it. And it is a declaration of wanting accountability from senior military leaders who unjustly kicked out over 8,000 able-bodied, willing to serve, wanting to serve service members. The only thing they didn't want to do was take an unproven, unapproved COVID vaccine. And so the Pentagon doubled down and forced them all out. In doing so, destroyed a lot of their lives. They had a lot of them lost their pensions, they lost their livelihoods, they lost bonuses, and they really lost trust in the institution of the military as a whole. And so everybody stood up and said, enough is enough. We're going to tell the truth about a government institution, which in this case happens to be the Pentagon, abusing their power. And so we band together to say that, we take an oath to follow lawful orders of the commanders above us, not unlawful orders. And I think that was sort of a wake-up call for a lot of officers in the military when that COVID order came down, was that they sort of just, mini commanders, just blindly decided to follow that order without knowing the facts and why it was an unlawful order.
It's amazing, I think, and really shocking to people to think that a lot of career military folks lost their jobs and their careers for refusal to take a shot that we now know there was no reasonable basis to make them take. I mean, this goes beyond.
Mm-hmm.
No one believes now that the vaccine stops infection. And very few people honestly believe that the vaccine or the mRNA shot does very much at all to combat COVID in the first place, especially for healthy people, and that the risks, especially of myocarditis, were more substantial than we were led to believe. This is now a matter of record. Why isn't the military writing this wrong on its own, Amber? It seems like it's so straightforward. Why aren't people being restored to their former rank, including all back pay and put on schedule for promotion as though this had never happened?
Because what we see in today's military is pretty much anybody 06 and above is a politician. And they are, like, look at Secretary Austin. He is just pushing a political agenda. President Biden, he's not doing what's best for the troops, doing what's best for the military, or doing what's best for the American people and the country. And it all comes down to our letter, the Declaration of Military Accountability. Is the military today has become a culture of no accountability. If you look back at history, if you look back at World War II, generals got fired. They were given a few months. If they couldn't hack it, if they had poor decision making, poor leadership, poor performance, they got fired and somebody else came in who could do the job. Fast forward, Vietnam, you started to see generals not really getting fired much anymore. And that's because there was a drastic shift in leadership at the Pentagon where they saw an individual general getting fired as a black eye on the military institution as a whole. And it was a PR nightmare to them. So what did they do? They circled the wagons, and you rarely see a military general get fired today for performance, maybe for conduct, but not for performance. And that's exactly the military that we see today. No one has been held accountable for Afghanistan or the withdrawal. No one has been held accountable for the unlawful implementation of the COVID-19 vaccine. They're not even held accountable for, the hundreds of billions into trillions of dollars that's unaccountable in these audits that they can't pass. So you cannot have an effective military without accountability. And that's exactly why we are seeing the military, the Pentagon in a downward spiral right now, the double standards, the two-tier justice system, and in this case, lawlessness. What happens when you get away with lawlessness? You're likely allowed to, or you're likely to push the boundaries again. So what's next? What's next? There's no accountability for their actions. They now think they can get away with
When
anything
we
they
come
want.
back, Amber, in a second, I want you to answer this question, but hold off on it for a moment. But the question I wanted to pose to you is, what is the single most important thing in your mind that the military could do to improve things? So let's get to that in a second. But first off, from our sponsor here, is there a change coming to the U.S. dollar perhaps as soon as this year? Look, there's this guy. He's a former Wall Street insider who's made some amazing calls in the past. His name is Kiowa Warrior, and he very much believes that it could and will happen this year. And he believes the biggest risk to Americans is not a war breaking out even bigger in the Middle East or Ukraine Russia escalation or even China Taiwan, but the security of the U.S. dollar. He's so adamant on this point that he's published a video online with all the details, including how you might prepare. Go to moveyourcashnow.com to learn the 3 steps you need to take to protect and grow your wealth in the coming months and year. Again, moveyourcashnow.com. That's the website, moveyourcashnow.com, where you could end up holding a bunch of dollars that don't have the value you think they do, paid for by Palm Beach Research Group. All right, Amber, what can be done to put it this way, actually, kind of a redo of the question, similar question. If you get a Republican, probably Trump, probably, if you get a Republican who wins in 2024, what should that Republican do to fix the military?
They need to recall some generals who have retired and show the military, like the generals who are currently serving, you're not going to get away with lawlessness. We are a nation of laws, and if you break those laws, and you're going to get brought back onto service and you're going to face a court martial and all the consequences that come with that. That will send a very strong message to the military. And what's sort of ironic is that during the Trump administration, you saw people, including General Milley, get up on a soapbox nonstop and talk about how the oath that a service member takes is not to the president of the United States, it's to the Constitution. Where were all of those generals who were talking about that when this COVID vaccine mandate came down? Their point was they didn't like the president of the United States at the time and what they were, the agenda that's of a certain president. So, and I'm specifically pointing to General Milley here and some of his comments. And going back to that two-tier justice system and double standards, General Milley got away with conspiring with Nancy Pelosi about how to take nuclear strike authority away from an elected president of the United States. He called his counterparts in China twice, saying he would give them notice of a military strike ahead of time. Once again, where's that accountability? Where's the accountability for General Milley? The next president, like you said, likely President Trump coming into office, he wants to make the military great again. He is fine with, he likes to fire people who aren't performing. He needs to make fixing the Department of Defense and these rogue generals a priority, because the way it is right now, the military is just, it is at a loss right now when it comes to leadership. And it is drastically needed. And like I said, you can't have an effective military without strong generals that are not politicians. And that's not what we have right now. We have political generals. Every single day, we inch closer to World War III. And now is the time when we need the strongest, most best elite military leaders in the world. And instead, we have Washington, D.C. politicians in uniform.
It's very troubling. That's for sure. How much is the issue of wokeness in the military and the social engineering from the left? Is it exaggerated in your mind a little bit in conservative media? Is it as much of a problem as everyone's telling us all the time on the right that it is? How do you see it? How does it manifest?
It's not exaggerated. I have done extensive research on this. I've got a book coming out on this called Unfit to Fight. It is that goes over DEI, CRT, critical race theory, and how it has infiltrated the military. West Point, all the military academies, these new young lieutenants coming in to service who are leading troops on the battlefield. Instead of studying military history and strategy, they're focusing on how they can be more inclusive of their service members. And I tell you what, the military has got to get back to being a meritocracy and focusing on pushing forward the best people for the job instead of, instead of looking to meet DEI quotas and what's making people feel good. The military is not college. The military is not a place where people go to find themselves. The military is a very specific job. You are there to serve your country and go to war if necessary. You want the best people to your left and your right, regardless of your gender, regardless of your color, regardless of what your political beliefs are. You got to know that that person's gonna, has those American values, that they care about America. And instead, they're being taught in not only public schools in America, but these military academies as well, that, hey, maybe America's the problem. Maybe America is an oppressor. Maybe you're not getting a fair shot because you live in America, which anybody that's older than, or should know, above 25 years old, 20, that is the exact opposite. You have every opportunity in the world, which is why you see everybody trying to come to our country. So it is not inflated in terms of the woke problems in the military. There are the problems. It's a very, very long list, focusing on transgender inclusiveness and building new bathrooms and non-binary studies. That is not what the military needs to be focusing on. That's not what they need to be spending their budget on. But also we need to look at Congress and how about some budget accountability when it comes to what they're allowing the Department of Defense to get away with their massive, massive budgets.
Amber, I have a very different kind of question, a fun question to close with you here
Sure.
in just a second. So stay with us. I know you got to go in a minute, go on, probably do an interview with Fox or something in a second, but just stand by for one moment because I want to tell everybody about Patriot Defender. This could not come at a better time in our country. I'm speaking about a company with a new membership offer. It's from Patriot Defender. It's a legal defense for you and me, the kind that we need most these days. No cost legal defense to protect your rights, freedoms, reputation, and your way of life. Speak up at a school board meeting about vaccine mandates. Suffer consequences. Your legal defense is covered. Free speech is denied. You suffer consequences. Your legal defense is covered. Use your Second Amendment rights to defend yourself. IRS audit. Legal defense covered. A whole range of things, my friends. You can have legal defense covered, and I think it's something that you will find is incredibly important and worthwhile for you to have. PatriotDefender.com. PatriotDefender.com. That's the website to go to. The only membership that goes beyond just defense for concealed carry weapons. That's PatriotDefender.com. Will cover what others won't to protect you, your family, and your livelihood. All right, last one for you, Amber. And, she's a mom also. She's a wife. She's a mom. And she's got an English Bulldog, which always gets me so excited. I have an adorable Australian Labradoodle. She's a little puppy. It's amazing. She's why I have scratches. For people who can see, I have scratches on it's all from the Labradoodle playing and, all the rest of it. She's very cute, though. But I've told my wife I want to get an English Bulldog to keep the Labradoodle company. What do you think of this idea as an English Bulldog owner?
So I was going to say, because I know you like Frenchies. So what was why'd you go with the Labradoodle over the Frenchie? Was it the snoring? Because I get it if that was it.
Because I'm married and that's what my wife wanted.
Okay, but I can
are
see
you familiar
like,
with this thing in marriage where the wife gets what she wants, Amber? Because I think you are.
I wanted an English Bulldog, yes.
Look at that.
So I would say, of course, your Labradoodle needs a best friend, and no better best friend than an English Bulldog. As long as, if the Labradoodle sleeps in the same room as you, I would just say, I don't think that's going to fly with the English Bulldog. Like, if you like sleep, they snore so unbelievably bad.
Is the snoring that bad?
The snoring is that bad. it's like house shaking. Yeah. It's rough.
The Labradoodle,
It's
she
rough.
slept.
They have the
Like
snub nose,
she
so they
slept
can't
like up
breathe.
against my shoulder last night, like a little bunny rabbit or something, and she's quiet as a mouse. So you're saying I can't have that with the English Bulldog?
I mean, cuddle all day long, but like the sleeping thing.
Wow, the snoring thing.
I mean,
I'm
unless like the snoring super bothers me. So if it doesn't bother you, then you'll be fine. But it's like sleep apnea for bulldogs. Yes.
Oh my God. Oh no. We can't have that. All right. Well, Amber, when's your book coming out?
My book will be out in April, so we still have a little bit. But
well, we're gonna have we'll do a whole thing here. We'll talk about your book. Last book was great, Danger Close. This one's gonna be fantastic. Amber Smith, everybody. Amber, thank you so much.
Great to see you back. Thanks.
Take care.